The only reason I'm saying I think he's doing Toronto or doing New York first is one, I think Matt would want to see him next to someone like Nick.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. Let's start this video with Quinton Beastwood and his recent update. So that strategy of him not announcing his show and not telling the fans when he's gonna compete next, I have to say that has worked pretty well for him so far. There is a lot of speculation on every single bodybuilding media outlet out there that whether Quinton is gonna compete at the New York Pro this year or not, and whether we are gonna see him stand next to the mutant Nick Walker. Or is he gonna pass up that opportunity? So the bros talked about this on the recent episode of What's podcast. And though Ian Valier, who is very close to Matt Jensen, did not confirm or deny whether Quinton is doing the New York Pro, he did say that Quinton's back is looking way improved compared to what we all saw in 2022.
But the front could.
I
everyone knows.
have seen from the back, I'll say, and there's definitely a big improvement.
I don't know when did you see it? Like he posted something a little while ago. It was too. Shut up, Ian.
I have inside information.
Oh my god! I know Matt.
I didn't say Matt showed me. I just said I have inside information.
And that is something that isn't published on Quinton's Instagram or on his YouTube either. And considering how long Quinton has been in prep, if him and his coach Matt Jensen think that they can show up at a show at his all-time best, Quinton for sure is gonna do it. So why would he miss this opportunity to stand next to a guy who is top 3 in the world, and also to a guy who is top 8 in the world? I am talking about Tony Button here. And I have to say Quinton is that type of bodybuilder that he can definitely expose both these guys in certain areas. Because as aesthetic as a guy like Tony Button is, Quinton's shape and aesthetics are better than him. And I have to say they are better than everyone in the men's open right now. He is a taller, more aesthetic version of Tony Button.
I think Matt would want to see him next to someone like Nick. And I think also
That's true.
It would be good to have. I think this is the first time they've peaked together to get one in before a show that you could potentially win, like Toronto.
So if you guys ask me, my guess is that Quinton is gonna do the New York Pro, as we still have about 3.5 weeks before it is time to step on stage for the New York Pro. And his conditioning, even in the recent stuff that he has been posting, which is most probably not recent, they're probably some old pictures. Although from this prep, but they are definitely not recent. So even in these pictures, in these updates, his conditioning looks very good here, and he can easily get ready in 3.5 weeks. Now, if we compare Quinton to Samson Daa, Samson definitely has bigger, more rounded quads, but the upper body of Quinton is just wild. Plus, the separation of his quads is absolutely insane, one of the best out there. Plus, he can come in more shredded than Samson Daa in certain areas, like his glutes. And overall, I have to say his conditioning is one of the best out there. He can get more shredded than both Samson Daa and Andrew Jacked. So let's just hope that Quinton does this show and see where he's at against few of the top guys in the men's open bodybuilding right now. Next up, we have an update from Good Vito. He has been pushing some really heavy weights towards Detroit Pro. So Good Vito came so close to winning his first pro show at Detroit Pro. But Martin Fitzwater came in way better for the finals, and he just closed the door for him. Only 1 point separated both these guys at the prejudging. That is how close it was between Good Vito and Martin. And Good Vito should be given the credit on the package he was able to bring, not just at Detroit Pro, but at the Arnold Classic South America as well. So before turning pro, and before switching to the IFBB Pro League, people used to say that Good Vito only looks good on Instagram. Even after turning pro, so many people had a lot of doubts about him. Even when he was prepping for the Arnold Brazil, all of us had our doubts about how he's gonna do against some of the top pros. But it was such an impressive pro debut for Good Vito in Brazil, and he was even better at Detroit Pro. So he must have converted a lot of naysayers into his believers. So for him to be a factor at a big stage like the Olympia, he needs another offseason where he can focus on bringing more density, more maturity, more thickness in the back, as well as his upper half, for instance his chest and his shoulders. But I have to say he has all the tools to step on this year's Mr. Olympia stage. And he has all the tools and he has all the time on his hand to be one of the greats in the men's open bodybuilding. So if he wants to step on the biggest bodybuilding stage this year, he needs to be a little smart about that. On what show he picks, on what show he competes in moving forward. So Samson Daa just came back from vacations and he weighed himself and he is way above 300 pounds already, and he hasn't been pushing food or training like he usually does. and yet he is still so massive, he's still so huge. But I have to say this has become so believable now that after years of doing back-to-back competitions and the way he has to restrict calories to get back in shape, as soon as Samson Daa puts food back in, he just blows right back up to 300 pounds. And that too without even trying. And Samson stays really lean throughout his offseason as well. So Samson went up to 330 pounds last year. But even during the peak of his offseason, he looked reasonably lean and he looked very round as well. So the thing that Samson learned from this year's Arnold Classic UK was that he needs to suffer more. He needs to dig even deeper in order to get the conditioning that the judges want to see on this guy. Otherwise, he can't possibly crack top 3. He can't possibly win the Arnold. But the judges will not consider him for Mr. Olympia title unless he keeps pushing on that conditioning, like he did for the Arnold Classic UK. Especially his transition from Ohio to UK. That was so surprising. Because even a downsized version of Samson Daa in UK, that was so appreciated not just by the fans but by the judges as well. Because he was more detailed, he was more conditioned. The quality of his skin was so much better. He was more separated than ever at that show. So right now Samson has another 3 weeks left until he starts the official off-season and maybe get serious about figuring out who is gonna be his next coach. Hassan Mustafa's physique update is next. So this was taken a few days ago. So that makes it a little over 7 weeks out of Toronto Pro Show, his first show of the season. So for a guy like Hassan Mustafa who has the hardest time getting shredded, who has the hardest time getting in shape, maybe he should look more sharp at 8 weeks out. But the thing is, he has a new coach this time, so this must be a new plan. And I have to say, this is gonna be such a difficult show for Hassan Mustafa, especially in terms of his chances of winning this show and getting the Olympia qualification here. Because Akeem Williams is competing here. And after doing 2 shows already, Akeem is gonna make sure that he tries to bring his all-time best and get his Olympia qualification now, so that he can give his body some rest, some break, before he can start the Olympia prep for 2024. So the last show for Hassan Mustafa was the Olympia 2023, and he competed there with a torn tricep, and yet still managed to place 11th in the world, and that was his best placing ever. So Hassan Mustafa has plenty of muscle. He's probably one of the most muscular guy out there, and he has been competing for years now. So trying to find that balance where he is shredded as well as full, that is the goal. In 2022, when Hassan worked with AJ Sims, that was probably the most conditioned version of Hassan that we saw on the stage. But in chase of that conditioning, he did lose some of the wow factor. So he brought some different looks to the stage in 2023. Toronto Pro 2023 and the Olympia last year being the best out of all of them. And in these shows he was bigger as well as in a very good conditioning. So let's see what his new coach can do as we are just over 6 weeks out of Toronto Pro. This guy Chris Baumann, who is a men's physique IV pro, he has been trending all over IG. And I have to say he has to be one of the most shredded guy alive. When we talk about being so shredded that the physique literally becomes an anatomy shot, this is what we mean by that. And this is what Chris Baumann looks like currently. Even Jay Cutler was so impressed with such a low body fat percentage.
Elos, check this guy out this side. What do you think?
Jay said he's full of shit. Huh?
So we have heard stories of Andre Munzer being the most shredded guy back in the day. Guys like Sean Ray and Milo Sorsev, they said that pictures or videos do not do him any justice. And people cannot comprehend how ripped he was when he was in his prime. But this guy Chris Baumann, he is looking dry as a bone. Truly skull-faced with a no-skin look to his muscles. So every fiber on his shoulders, the lower back Christmas tree is visible. And I bet he's gonna be even more shredded in person. Because most of the times, the camera is unable to show the raw and the real detail in a physique. Truly a great talent. Because if you do not have the genetics for it, it doesn't matter how long you diet. It doesn't matter how low you go on food. You just cannot be this shredded. So hit the thumbs up button if you like the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.